There we go.
Hold on 1 second. There we go.
All right. So welcome back, everybody. This is the last session for today. And today we have Rachel Moskowitz, the Bureau Chief of Economic Research and Analysis with New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions. And we were talking while you were all out there coming, relaxing, that Rachel and I have known each other for a very long time. And we go back to 1989. Ha, I put
98.
98.
98.
98.
No,
Oh.
no.
But I used to work at Department of Workforce Solutions, and at that time, we used to do labor market information tables at job fairs and career fairs. And just so you know that, those tables actually do work. This nice young lady came up and told me she had just gotten her master's degree in economics and was looking for a job. And I said, hey, you know what? Our department's looking for a new economist, and certainly she was able to get that job, and has had a long career in state government. So without further ado, I'm going to have Rachel Moskowitz talk to you about labor market information. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you. And the story that I want to tell about Susan was, so when I got the job, they put me in the cubicle right next to her. And she had always had lots of phone calls, and I learned so much from her. But the best advice I ever got was when I got the job, I was afraid of computers. And she said, just click on stuff. Just go around and start clicking on stuff, and you really can't go wrong. And that's exactly what I do now. I think maybe once or twice in the past 25 years, I've lost something, but I'm always like, oh, what does this do? What does this do? And I tell that story to everyone. So I want to thank you, Susan. You made me more comfortable with computers. So I appreciate that. All right. So the Love Fest with Susan continues later on. But anyway, but you should be able to see my screen. I am here to talk about labor market information. And
Rachel, it's not full screen. There we go.
Okay, great, thanks. See, I'm still a little computer non-savvy, but I clicked around, I figured it out. So great, thank you. So I am Rachel Moskowitz. I'm the Bureau Chief of Economic Research and Analysis, and I'm here to talk about labor market information. And labor market information is basically a marketing tool that is whose definition is any type of piece of data or any group of data in which it can help people get jobs, get better jobs, help them support their families. So
that I was 179 because I have a senior.
And so thank you. So employers use it to make informed business decisions and grow their businesses. Job seekers and students use it to make career and employment decisions. Researchers use it, just like Mo did in the excellent previous session, to assess the health and economy of the state or the U.S. And policymakers and public entities use it as well. So the questions that we can help answer are really varied, and here's just some of them. We have occupational data, so we can answer questions such as what detailed occupation had the highest median wage in New Mexico, what county had the highest or the lowest unemployment rate, what's the inflation rate change from last year, what industry employed the most workers in Otero County, what county had the highest rate of veterans, and so on and so forth. So we're actually going to be able to answer a lot of these questions. And the last slide will be the answers to these. So if for some reason you're interested in one of these, and the answer will be presented to you at the end of our presentation. So when it comes to labor market information, we collect labor market information. We send out inquiries and samples of, we sample employers and ask them, who do you employ, how much do they earn, and what's their occupational title. Mo had mentioned earlier the QCEW and CES data, and that's data from employers, and we collect that. as well. And on the right is a sample, it's called the multiple worksite report. We ask employers how many employees do they employ and where are they located, as well as their wages. So we take that data and we analyze it. On the top left-hand side is a copy of our labor market review, which is a monthly publication that has our unemployment rate, employment changes, as well as some articles. We have a veterans profile, which actually just came out last month. We have our news release, which is on the bottom right-hand corner. That comes out once a month. It's our unemployment rate as well as our employment changes. And we have the New Mexico State of the Workforce, which has highlights all of New Mexico's current and future workforce trends. And I'll show you where these are on our website. And we also, one of our most important thing that we do is disseminate labor market information to employers and job seekers. So we take this information and we provide it to students or to people that come up to a table, such that Susan was manning 25 years ago. And we have all these tools to help people find a job or find a better job and to help support their families. And we never forget that that's really our customer. So even though we have this unemployment rate, we come out with all these numbers, we never forget that that really means something. It means something about their families, about the state of New Mexico as a whole. You know, we're here to provide a service to our customers, and you're our customer as well. So I'm really happy to be here and to disseminate this labor market information to you and to show you where you can find it. So the top left-hand corner is a publication that we send out to our students or for job seekers. It's New Mexico Occupational Outlook. We take our 10-year occupations, 10-year projected occupational growth, and we marry it with our wages. And based on that, we provide a list of the top growing occupations in the state. We have wage information by occupational title, and then we have our bottom is the our two internet applications, Why I Work and Career Solutions, and we'll go through with that as well. So our main page is www.dws.state.nm.us, and you go under researchers, and there are 4 sections of data, of information. You have data, resources, publications, and what is labor market information. I think the most important thing, or the one that's most used, at least by myself, is data. We have some Tableau dashboards, and this is where you can get the data that we publish in easy to access format. We also have publications, and I had mentioned in the previous screen the state of the workforce, as well as some other veteran-specific resources. And then we also have our online resources, in which Career Solutions and Why I Work, that's what I mentioned in the previous screen. Those are our career exploration tools, as well as Laser, which actually is a more powerful tool if you need to download more granular data. So in this point, I'm going to go to the internet and we're going to actually go through these websites. So if you have a particular project that you're working on and you need some help finding information, then here's where you want to pay attention. Okay, you should see, Susan and Barb, do you see our NMDWS website? I'm gonna say that's a yes.
Yes.
Awesome, thank you. All right, great, thank you so much. All right, so here's our main website, dws.state.nm.us, and you're gonna click on researchers. And all the way on the left-hand side, these are all Tableau dashboards. And Tableau dashboards are very helpful if you're writing a report, if you're new to data, if you're more of a visual type learner. This shows our employment snapshot. This is our employment snapshot, and this is updated monthly with our news release. And this is our unemployment rates, New Mexico and the US. And what's really cool is that you can actually hover over the line and it'll give you the data that you're that's shown on that graph. So going back to what Mo had said, this is where the unemployment rate for New Mexico was lower than for the US as a whole. And then it switched in 14 where we became higher. And this is seasonally adjusted. And then he had mentioned that we came to the COVID party late, and you can really see it here in the data. And then look, we're still hanging out the COVID party. Here's the regional unemployment rates for October 2021. This is our most recent. We're at 6.5% compared to the rest of the Southwest. And here's over the year employment growth. This is year over year. So Nevada had the highest employment growth rate in this area. And here's New Mexico. Now, if you want to download any of this information, there's a link here on how to download dashboards and data, but you can also download it through here. You click on the button and you can decide if you want to download the image, the data. I usually do the data or the image. You can do a PDF, put in a PowerPoint, whatever you want. Okay. So our next dashboard is labor force and unemployment. And this is our LAOS program. It's called Local Area Unemployment Statistics Program. You don't need to know that. Basically, this is the unemployment rate. This is our New Mexico historical unemployment rate. And here's the over the year percentage point change in unemployment rate by state. If this is October 2021, but if you want to look at a different month, you can just move the month and it'll show the change. And here's unemployment rate by state. If you're interested in getting the information by county, New Mexico County, it's right here. So Lee's percentage point unemployment rate actually fell 6%. Well, 6 percentage points. Last year at this time it was 13%. Now it's 7%. So, and everyone's unemployment rate has come down since last year. So that's good. Okay. So one of the other programs that we work on, actually two, and Mo had mentioned this earlier today, was the current employment statistics program, and that is based on a sample. And one of the issues and one of the reasons why they no longer, many people, I should say, don't use it for projections is that it's a very limited sample. So what we do is we're once a year, and he had mentioned this, we benchmark it or anchor it to the QCW data, and that's the universe. This QCW data, basically, if a company employs workers who are covered under unemployment insurance laws, they have to, they're counted in what's called our quarterly census of employment and wages. The problem is that the data is released late meaning 3 to 6 months after the fact. So going back to CES, but what's good about CES, it's based on a sample, but it's the most current and available data out there. You can look at historical data by growth. So in the US, year over year increased 4%, New Mexico is 3.9. Here is a chart of historical total non-farm employment. And here's over the year growth rate. And you can see here's the beginning of the recession, the COVID recession. We, from May 2019 to 2020, we, second or third month of the COVID, we dropped 11% of employment. And if you click on this, you can look at it by industry. So leisure and hospitality year over year has grown 14.2%. Sounds great. I mean, but remember too, is a year ago, it was at a very low amount. And here's over the year growth rate. Now, if you click on that and it's highlighted, this graph changes to only show leisure and hospitality. So here the bottom dropped out at the beginning of COVID, and here it's so high because it fell so much a year ago. Now let's say that, okay, you're done with leisure and hospitality. You want to click on something else? What you do is you go back up and you click on this little, I don't know, round arrow, and it says revert. You click on that and it refreshes the page. So let's say you want to look at, let's do a look at mining here. Natural resources, mining and construction. And once it's done, and then this is over the year growth. And you can see there's actually a cyclical component to it. Somewhat a cyclical. Okay. Now, if you were to go down to quarterly census employment and wages, and again, that is our universe or relative universe of wage and salary workers. Now, the problem with this QCW is that it excludes gig workers. So those that are self-employed or receive 1099s are not included in the QCW. And that is one issue, is that as the gig market grows, as more people are doing this type of self-employment, doing this type of work, you know, how many people are we going to miss by the QCW, by it not being in the QCW? But I don't get paid enough to figure that out, so I'm just going to continue on with this presentation. So here's our QCW dashboard, and we have it highlighting average weekly wages by area. You can look at it by sector, subsector, and total. So this shows every quarter, this is the average weekly wages. And what you can see, LAOS, not a lot of oil and gas workers, but they bring in very nice money. And Los Alamos, 1,700. Average weekly wage. And you can look at it by ownership type, time period. And if you're interested, you can get this in a table and you can highlight it by the time period, the industry level, ownership. You can even look at it by county. And as you can see, this most recent data is the first quarter of 2021. Really, we're in the fourth quarter of 2021. Again, the 3 to 6 month lag. And it takes a while to load. This is probably not a good example, but if you are, oh, here it goes. Okay, so for Catron County, this shows that in this industry code of agriculture, there are 7 establishments, average of 34 workers, total wages of $277,866, average weekly wage of $629. If there is a asterisk, that means it's suppressed. We can't release that information. And again, if you want to download that data, you click on this. There's this tree map, which has share by area. So in the first quarter of 2021, the biggest share of employment was in healthcare and social assistance. 118,597 divided by whatever, total is like 600,000, 600,000 or 700,000. Now, what's also important on this page is this little link right here, quarterly census of employment size class data. This is very, very interesting. We publish this once a year at the beginning of the year. And this shows, can you guys see that? You should be able to see it. If not, wave your hand.
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome, thank you. This is number of employees by size class. So in 2021, out of 604, let's say 605,000 workers, 50,000 of them worked from an employer or an establishment with less than 5 people. And about the same amount worked in an establishment or an employer with more than 1,000 people. The number of establishments by size class. So out of 61,000 businesses basically covered under the QCW program. Again, this does not include self-employed or those that are getting 1099. 40,000 of them, so 4 out of 6, 2/3, have less than 5 workers. Only 12 of them have 1,000 workers or more. We can probably even rattle them off. That's a really cool, interesting thing to know. All right, so let's go back to
one of my favorites too, everybody.
So here it is. Let's go back. Researchers. It's kind of tucked. I don't know why it's tucked away. Researchers, employment and industry. You're going to click on that. And it's right here. That's it. Once a year. Should be done every quarter, but we do it once a year. All right. So our occupations and wages. This is one of our most used data tools. Comes from our Occupational Employment and Wages Statistics Survey. It's a survey of about 1,500 businesses. We send out a questionnaire. We ask them, who do you employ? What occupational titles are they? Do you employ? How much do they make and how many do you employ? And we're actually, we do it twice a year. And so if anyone here is a business owner, and you should have received a survey, and if you did not respond to the survey, then you need to hang up and go away right now, because I refuse to continue until you respond to your survey. No, I'm just kidding. But this is data from our last year's survey. And what we do is we get this information for every single occupational title. So in New Mexico, we had 785,000 employment and occupation. The average wage was 22,000. Entry wage average was 49,650, and we can break it up by geography. We don't have it by county, but we have it by workforce board region and metropolitan statistical area. Now, if you notice, this employment total is not going to match our QCW numbers, which is not necessarily going to match our CES numbers. So it's off a little bit. Again, there's certain occupations that are not collected here. The biggest one is those that are not covered, as well as agriculture. So let's say you are in Farmington and you give it a minute, and that's the average wage in Farmington is 46,510. You can select it by hour, or you can even go by detailed occupation. So let's just do detailed, and let's see who's making the most in Farmington. And it spins. Physician's assistants make 124,350. And if you hover over that, it actually gives you a description of what these occupational groups do. Then we also have it. Now remember, if let's say you don't want Farmington anymore, you want to look at Cruces, you can just click on this, the revert. We also have some visualizations. I love showing this one because this tells you a lot you need to know about a job. So if you have someone at home who doesn't know what they want to do, and that could include yourself, you pick the geography, you pick the wage, and here's the occupational group. So I'm going to leave it on, this is architecture and engineering. And what's really interesting to note is you want a high-paying job, right? But you also want a job that has high employment. So if you go here, this is engineers, all other, that's a catch-all phrase, but this shows that the electrical engineers have high employment, most likely high opportunities and high wages.
Hey, Rachel, real quick, do the
Uh-huh.
wages reflect benefits at all or just gross income?
It is benefits if it's tied to the actual work. So for example, it does not include health care. It doesn't include I don't know, deferred compensation, 401k. But if let's say you're a waiter or waitress, it includes tips, or if you get a bonus that's dependent on your quality of work, then that is included. That's a good question. Actually, I thought you were a spy because I actually got that question over the internet about 2 weeks ago, and I had to look it up. I wasn't 100% sure. I don't know if you know, Susan, I'm actually on the OES program. Did you know that?
Oh,
I'm
how fun.
yeah, I know. So my first job when I started in 98 was working on this survey. And we had some personnel changes. We had a guy who was doing this and he retired, and then I had and then so we have a new person, and I told the other worker, I said, and this program is very underfunded by BLS. I said, just give me a couple of NAICS codes, I'll handle it. And the thing is, I love it. And the thing is, I did it 25 years ago, so I'm back on the program that I started. But anyway, that's another side story.
Labor market information never stops.
No, it does not, and it's really anyway. They've made improvements in the program, so. But anyway, this is a real cool thing to look to if you have any kids in the house. You can compare it by area. I'm gonna start moving a little bit faster. I think I'm talking to a little bit, but this area you can look at the average wage for accountants and auditors, the state, and then here's all the regions in New Mexico, and as you can see, the average annual wage for accountants and auditors is much lower in New Mexico than the US. Let's look at another one. Let's see. Brokerage clerks. I don't know what they do. Oh, here we go. New Mexico is 59,058 in the US. That's not bad. Okay. Let's go to our next one. Our employment projections, and I'm going to go over this really quickly because we haven't updated it. Every 2 years, we do employment projections. Our last most updated projections was 2 years ago in 2018, 2028. This summer, we're going to come out with our 2020 to 2030 employment projections. I'm not going to go through this, but if you look, these projections were done 6 months to 9 months before COVID hit. And it's not a forecast. So if a forecast, like what Mo had shown earlier, is it depends on, he's actually projecting business cycles, and we don't do that. We just assume how the economy is now, how it will be 10 years from now. So that's coming up in the summer. We provide a lot of publications on what this means. So I'll leave that for next time. Our occupational outlook marries our projections with the wages. And I'll do this very quickly as well, is that you can select a geography, and we'll choose, let's do cruises today. And it'll show the most new jobs. So home health and personal care aides are projected to have the most new jobs from 2018 to 2028. And if you click on the bar, it'll tell you something about that occupation. And if you hover, like what is a star level, it'll tell you what these symbols mean. So let's say in cruises, I want to know the highest paying, it's physicians. Let's say you don't want to go to medical school. You're like, oh, I want to be a sales manager. You click on that and it tells you the projected growth, annual job openings, they need a bachelor's degree, etc. Going back to our data dashboard, we have our consumer price index. Again, Mo had mentioned that about inflation using the CPIU. That's increased 5.11%. That's September data, September 2020 to September 2021. October is already released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But if you don't know, don't want to figure the math out, it's delayed by a couple of weeks just based on our publishing schedule. So you can always access it this way. All right, I'm going to go to under publications, a couple of items that are important. One of them is our, let's go to our labor market review. This is our once a month publication. And if you do not get this, this is really interesting. This tells you it's free. We send you a link. You can sign up to get an electronic notice that this is available. And it talks about the unemployment rate, employment. We have unemployment rate by demographic category. That's for the state. Unemployment rate, a whole bunch of good stuff. Lots of real cool looking graphs. Oh, major employment developments. We have a page. So we have a newspaper clipping service for the newspapers throughout the state, and we read them. And those that have a high number of job changes or employment changes, we actually put it in this major employment development. So we always have JTIP because that brings that funds a lot of jobs. And then we have information on other employers or companies coming into the state. For example, Bernalillo, Fidelity is going to hire 250 positions. Here's a special article by some economist, new economist we've got. She's really hard to manage, this woman. Mouths off to me about inflation, business employment dynamics. Anyway, the last couple pages are key labor market indicators. And this is all for free. Your taxpayers are already paying, tax-paying dollars are already paying for it. So if you click on, so we're here under labor market review. Under major employment developments, if you click on this, again, this is a little small, but we have, this comes out every month. And if you want to get on this email address, this email listing, send me, I'll have my email address at the end. I need your email address and we can add you to this listing. But it talks about expansions, contractions, and openings. And again, we get this off the newspaper, out of the newspaper. And if we think it's if we think that's it has to be a reliable source, and it has to be a probability, high probability that it's going to happen. And we put it on here. Okay. The other items under publications are, if you go under reports and special analysis, this state of the workforce is very helpful. If you just want something to put you to bed at night, or let's say you're seriously, if you're having trouble sleeping, this is the way to go. Again, it's free. Or if you're presenting in front of the legislature, or you don't, you just want to know like how's the economy overall, this is a great publication. It comes out once a year, and we talk about population in New Mexico, basically the change in population, components of change, and we talk about education and veteran population. I mean, basically anything, poverty, all the important indicators, if you will, of how the state's doing. And going back to table of contents, so we talk about, here's our employment projections section. Oops. But oops, let's see here. Earnings. Mo had talked about the average age. You can go to median age. It's not working. That's on page 9. You'll have to get it yourself if you want to know about it. But anyway, so that's really helpful. That's a good publication. And if you go to Understanding LMI, let's say after a presentation like Mo's, you want to learn more about the difference between the QCW and the CES program, as well as the LAOS program, all these little funny sounding acronyms. If you go down to Labor Market Information Data Program Guide or this cheat sheet, it'll tell you the difference between the two and which ones you should use. All right, so now we're going to go to Laser. So Laser is our, this is our database, if you will, for people who just want the granular data. They want to make their own charts, or maybe they need something more data than what the Tableau dashboards were showing. And here's where you want to get them. You want to go under data and statistics. You have the LAOS, that's the unemployment rates. CES is employment statistics, QCW, employment, here are wages, and here are projections. The other stuff that I want to show you on this page that's also can be used for economic analysis is if you go under menu, there's a sandwich bar, and you can go under advertised jobs data. Now this is something that I know our department heads love to look at. So these are advertised job openings. And again, Mo, I'm his biggest fan today. I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. Seriously, I enjoyed his presentation, and a lot of the data he presented we have, or Susan can get it for you, but he had mentioned also the number of job openings, and what we have that information here in Laser. So what this is showing is that in October 2021, there were 84,000 job openings in New Mexico, advertised job openings. And if you want to know where this is or how they get it, it says right here. This data comes from a third-party source that collects advertised job data from like LinkedIn and I don't even know, Monster, like all these places and stuff. It's spidered. So what this reflects is 84,000 unique job openings, which is not necessarily correct in the sense that if I were an employer and I advertise a job on Indeed today, and I advertise the exact same job on LinkedIn tomorrow, the exact same thing, they have different dates, they're going to be counted as two. But in the big scheme of things, this is a good indicator if you look at it historically of where we are in terms of the demand and supply of the labor market. You can ignore this green job count, average wage, percent openings with wage. Those don't mean anything. Just ignore that. So if you are in Laser and you want to look at historical over the month, let's just select all. And here is starting in January 28, 2008, all the job openings, or the total number of job 43,000, and now it's what was it, 80 something. So let's change the page size. Now to download it, what I do is, let's see, I've never done a graph. Oh, here's a graph. I'll show you how to download this here in a moment, but here's the job openings, and you can see the huge increase starting with actually, well, here's the COVID, and here's the increase. What I do, I don't do this. I like making things hard for myself. So what I do is I download it. So to download it, I just click on this and click on Excel to download it. But if you don't want to do that, we actually, in our labor market review, we actually have a little graph of this information. We provide this information to you. Going back to advertised job data, you can get job openings by area, job openings by occupation, job openings and by industry. So any of those are very helpful. Another indicator that shows you where we are in the economy as a whole. For example, for occupation, the number one is usually registered nurses, and that's been like that for years. Industries, healthcare. Is the data entirely accurate? I don't know. I mean, it definitely has some issues, but it's probably the best that we have in terms of doing a supply and demand analysis. All right, so, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff here. But that was the only one I wanted to show you. Actually, three other things I want to show you is going back to here. We have, so this is where laser is, and I'm keeping it short today, but laser, if you are, if you need data, if you need our data, meaning QCW, CES, LAOS data on a regular basis, and you need help pulling it, let me know. We can do a training. It's really easy. You can also do it at the BLS website. There are some instances where sometimes it's actually easier to pull it out of the BLS website. In some instances, laser is easier. So it just depends on what data, what you want and what you're comfortable with, actually. So
actually,
go ahead.
your data download in laser, where you can get all of it at once, isn't bad. It's pretty good.
It is. There's, I think there was one of them I like much better in one versus the other. But for the longest time, I was using BLS.gov exclusively, and then of course Michelle's like, no, you can't. You know, so I'm now now I use laser, except there is one program that I use BLS. I don't remember which one it was, but whatever you're most comfortable with. The important thing is that you're using the data. If you need help understanding it, you can let me know or call Susan, or I mean, we're here to help you. Again, your taxpayer dollars at work. Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to go here, career solutions, why I work, and then there's another one other thing, and then we should be done here shortly. So this is career solutions. So remember, we have all this labor market information. We spend all this time collecting it and analyzing it and putting it in a nice little format. Well, here, this is specifically, it was meant for high school students as a career exploration website. But what people have been telling me is that adults are using this as well, because it's really easy to understand. So you get to career solutions, and you have these career exploration module, education and training module. This is how to gain experience in the job search. And then what you do, it's very user friendly, in my opinion it is. And then you just go through, you do an assessment, and then you can find occupations, you can compare occupations. We actually do, pre-COVID, we did this, we went through this very thoroughly with some of the students and some of the teachers. So if you're an educator and want some help on how you can use this for your students, let me know and we will help you. So here's where we talk about we use our labor market information, and we use this to compare occupations. For example, accountants, this has high demand, 679 openings in the year. So and here's our wages. So we use this to compare and contrast it with other occupational titles. All right, so going back, there is a module called Why I Work, and this is super cool. And we're actually updating this data right now. This is a budgeting tool, so you decide where you want to live and how you want to live, and then it'll pop out how much money you need to make to in a job to live that way. So let's say, for example, in the future, I want to live in Albuquerque. You click on the house, and what we use, all this data here is census data. Pretty much. The previous slide was census data. For the utilities, we actually call companies and we say, hey, or we get online and we find out, you know, how much do you pay for water? How much you charge for water? So then you keep going, and then you want, you know, what type of transportation, retail, and then you keep going, healthcare. This is all like statistically sound. The only thing we made up is like this stuff. We made up that. Let's see, we made up the movies. Here, movie, oh, that's home. Movies, $50 a month. All right, so you keep going, furniture. These are, some of these are made up, but if you don't, you know, if you don't spend $50 on housewares a month, you can change that to 5. And then here's CNN. Oh, here we got a saving module. Here, let's go realistic, 0. All right, just kidding. Oh, that's cool. Okay, it doesn't let you do 0. Awesome. All right, so according to this, I need to get a job that makes at least $3,800, that gives me $3,800 a month, and that includes taxes. So I need to make $58,000. I didn't even answer the questions correctly. Wow, I'm totally underpaid. And then what you do is you can print it. Oh, here are data sources. We use census data. The stuff we made up, I just ignored. We didn't respond. But then it takes you to career solutions, and you can punch in, and that was you can punch in the amount, the wage requirement. You punch in $58,000 and out will shoot all the occupations that make that amount. So let's go to wage requirement. So it was about, let's do 55. And here are all the occupations that make at least that amount. And then you can search by, you can further search it by education level. Okay, so there's one other thing I want to show you is that, all right, so, all right, now we're going to show, all right, you should see an Excel spreadsheet. I send this out every week. Mo had mentioned UI claims information. Some of the data he gets out of here, some of the data he gets it off USDOL, but I want to let you know that if anyone is interested, we send out UI initial and continued claims information. This it's an Excel spreadsheet. I send it out every Thursday. Susan gets it. The part that's really interesting are the claimants by demographic. We have, so I already did it for today. Susan, you won't get this until Thursday because that's when I send it out. But yeah, secret, it's top secret. But it shows these are claimants receiving benefits, UI benefits as of November 29th. So that's today. Breakdown by gender, age, ethnicity, race, industry, and occupation. And this goes all the way back to May of 2020. And so if you want to get, if you want, right now we're developing another Tableau dashboard that has something, this information or somewhat similar. But if you want this information, you're gonna have to send me an email and I'll start putting you on the listing. So going back to our PowerPoint. Okay. Here's our PowerPoint. Here's our websites. Oh, here are the answers. So some of the ones I didn't answer are 1 in 4 firms in New Mexico were minority owned, the 5th highest rate in the country. We did a article on that. Here's this is Susan's favorite data is 66% of New Mexico's establishments employed fewer than 5 workers. 18,000 jobs were lost in the leisure and hospitality industry. And that's it. So basically, here's my name, email address. This is my phone number. I never answer this phone number. Oops. So if you, I prefer email, but if you do call me, make sure you leave a message because I have a work phone number that I never answer. So send me an email if you want to be added to the Excel spreadsheet for UI claims. If you have a request for trainings, if you need any help with data, and if you want to be added to the email listing for the employment dynamic, the monthly newspaper clippings for employers that are hiring or firing, that type of thing. Okay, so thanks for coming, and I'll just hang around for a little bit if you have questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Susan.
And I put stuff in the chat, so if you look over there, you'll see
Oh.
I added your email. So that you
Okay,
get the economic.
good. There's
And also
Mo.
some of the links.
Mo, you're my hero.
Hey, I'm loving why I work. That is the coolest thing. You guys have really improved it. It's great.
We're updating the data. The housing we use Census, and everything else. It's it's not. Beside like the movie theater and stuff. Housewares. We don't. It's all statistically sound. The kids love it because it's very. They understand immediately. They catch on immediately. The kids. You talk to them about occupations. They don't care, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a blogger, or But the why I work is it's quick, it's easy to understand, it's easy to people get that.
People get money.
They get money. They get money. So
hold it. I'm gonna share. I need to hide things
let
on
me
my
get
screen.
out of here. Yeah, sure. Let me get out of here. Go ahead.
Share this. So I want to thank everybody for coming in today and for coming in for labor market information. The next session will be tomorrow morning at 10:30, and we're going to do the pulse survey. And if you've been looking at data and you understand that as the pandemic hit, everything takes a while to filter through, and specifically business data. For the IRS, basically for them to say a business is closed and it's gone, it has to be inactive for 18 months. And so we won't know how many businesses have closed yet for another couple of months here. But the Pulse survey went out there, and it's a weekly survey, and it surveys small businesses, and they also do a household survey. And so you get that sort of right happening now data that we have to wait for the rest of it till later. So that's tomorrow at 10:30. And thanks for coming today, and thank you, Rachel.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to present and talk to you. And next year, I'm looking forward to being in attendance. I like that time where I'm not distracted. I'm there learning something. I always learn something new. So I'm really excited that next year is going to be in person.
We have our fingers crossed, but
I know,
yeah,
I know.
As I was looking at, as we were looking at this year, there was just, in May, there was just so uncertainty.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, the Census Bureau speakers don't have money to travel. And so we ended up having to.
We don't have permission to travel either. We're still in a non-travel status.
So fingers crossed they can
Yeah.
travel next year.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice. I think it's definitely better in person, but so.
Well, and all the Census Bureau speakers who had been here before all sent me we miss coming to eat.
Yep.
I know.
She finds the best places to take us all. It is just, what was that one? La Pinta?
El Pinto. Yeah,
El
last year we took
Pinto.
him to El Pinto. It was
That's
good.
yeah. It's like having you guys out because you help stimulate the economy. You eat our food and like it.
And the other thing is that we get a chance to get to know each other better than just, you know, I mean, I got to know Michael Hollis quite well when we were down in New Mexico because we were sitting and having dinner together.
Yeah.
And we weren't in a business situation. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the people that over the 20 years I've brought down, I've gotten to know better that way.
Yeah. Do you know when you'll be able to travel again, or it's still on hold?
It's on hold. They are doing some big conferences that we need to be at, like NATAT and NACO, National Associations of Counties and Towns and Townships, and that. They're allowing some people, but it is so limited.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're hoping by maybe June of next year we'll be able to bring all the leads in for the annual conference.
Okay, good.
Or we may have it someplace else besides DC. If we can, as long as we can get the travel funds to do it, we'll do it that way.
Yeah.
We're looking, we're trying. Tony and I are going to start next week putting in, believe it or not, for June, but so we can get it through an agenda, both virtual and face to face. So we're trying.
Yeah.
You know, we're a little bit tired too of not traveling over 3 years now and having these virtual meetings, you know.
I don't know about you, but I am the virtual. It's like my number of meetings I go to is like doubled. Have you guys? I don't get all of a sudden I mean, seriously, I used to have 1 or 2 a day. I on one day I had 7. I couldn't stand it. It was awful.
There was a day that I went from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night. I had 2 affiliate meetings that day, one in the morning and one at night in the afternoon. And it was the most horrible day sitting here,
Yeah.
you know. But today I did things in the background.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll get off. You guys did a nice job. Susan, is always a pleasure. So.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks. I'll see you mañana.
Bye. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Susan.
I'm staying here.
Sent the 2 emails to you, Kite.
Let me.
They went through.
They went through. Let me see if I can. I was in the process, but phones and things got carried away here. Let me see if I can sign in. Do I have to create a password, right? All right.
For what? SharePoint?
The secure file collaboration.
I don't know what that is.
It's when I click the link, that's what it says.
I don't know.
Let me give it a try. Why?
I was just going back to see if this third one had recording has started. Oh, no, it hasn't come through yet.
Yeah, no, it looks like I have to have a secure Kite thing.
Hold on a second.
Let me...
We're being recorded.